With that, welcome you inside this edition of Big Ten Today. Rick Pizzo, thrilled to be joined by Trent Meacham. Trent, I always love when we can start this show with new information, developing news to share with the viewers as the league decides how they will handle the schedules for both men's and women's basketball with the 4 new teams in the mix. It was something that all of us have been waiting to find out.
And all the coaches and fans and how many games are they going to play, what's the conference tournament's going to look like. So it's great to have that settled. Now we got a great season here happening right now, but it's good to know what next season will look like with these additional teams joining.
So let's let everybody know the changes and what stays the same with the schedules. Important to note, the 20-game conference regular season schedule in men's basketball will not change. No additional conference games with the addition of USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington. Each school would play every other school at least once every season. Play 3 schools twice. The single-play home and away locations would rotate annually, and the 2-play opponents will ultimately be determined by competitive balance, geography, and rivalries, and that look will take place every year. The women's a little bit different. Again, still an 18-game conference regular season schedule, but this means that each school would play every other school at least once and only one school twice. Just like the men, the single-play home and aways will rotate, and those 2-play opponents will be determined by the same factors, but they'll be evaluated after the first 2 years of the new schedule. Now, everybody is asking what happens with the tournament in 18 teams. The Big Ten tournament will consist of the top 15 finishers in the regular season standings and those who make it via the tiebreaker at the end of the regular season. Just like the current tournament, seeds 1 through 4 will receive double byes. Seeds 5 through 9 now will receive single byes. The league wanted to make sure that 9th seed, by finishing in the top half of the league, does get a single bye. The 15-team format gives the 9 seed that bye, which means that there will be 3 games on Wednesday, but there is no additional game added to the tournament, no additional days, I should say. It will remain Wednesday through Sunday. So here's a look. You see the 3 games that will be played on Wednesday, far left-hand side of your screen. Those 3 winners move on to play respectively the 5, 6, and 7 seeds with the 8-9 game predetermined by the end of the regular season standings. And once you get into Friday, everything looks exactly the same as it has looked in recent memory here inside the Big Ten. So now you have the changes, what stays the same, and what the tournament looks like. Trent, let's start with what stays the same and the conference schedules. 20 games for the men, 18 for the women. I think this is a very important key because if you add additional conference games, you are adding some tough matchups to teams that already face some of the nation's toughest schedules.
As a fan, I wouldn't mind seeing you play every team twice, right? But a 20-game schedule, I think it's made sense in recent years for these teams. I think coaches would not want to go more than that. This allows these schools to, they're non-conference. Some of these teams have great non-conference rivalries that they play year in, year out. Coaches want to have some games where they feel like their teams can find their footing and rhythm early in the season. I wouldn't mind seeing more high-profile games in the non-conference. I know coaches like to have plenty of low-major, mid-major opponents to schedule, to build up their resume, to build up their team before you get into the conference season because, look, this is a gauntlet, year in, year out. Even teams that you think might not be as strong, just like we saw Purdue be taken to the wire against Rutgers. I mean, this Big Ten conference schedule, it's so tough. And now you add these other teams, West Coast travel, another element. I'm really looking forward to it.
You bring up a good point about those quality non-conference games. With 20, teams are still allowed to do that. It's kind of the Tom Izzo philosophy. And look at Michigan State not having a great year inside the Big Ten right now, but they're still inside the top 30 in the net because they played such a tough schedule, had that big win over Baylor, the close loss to Duke early in the year. Let's transition now to the tournament, because I think more of the conversation will take place about the tournament with folks asking why 15. It seems like something of a random number, but it's really not. And I think it's 15. The number one reason, in my estimation, it's 15 is because the league wants to give that 9 seed, which did finish in the top half of the league, a little bit of credit for finishing among the top 50% in what, with these 4 teams, is going to be the best league in the nation.
And if you're in the top 9 or 10 teams, you probably feeling pretty good about your NCAA tournament
Absolutely.
resume. I would not have seen them just have the top 8 teams with a bye and have another game on Wednesday. But I think what they did, it makes a lot of sense. You reward the teams that finish in the top half. The Big Ten is going to be tougher than ever. I mean, it's incredibly tough now. Next year is going to be even tougher. So, and then to get through a Big Ten tournament will be totally, such a challenge. I also have no problem with 3 teams missing out on the conference tournament. Yes, it's a bummer for them, but look, they're going to have 20 games to build up their resume, get enough wins, and if you can't finish in the top 15, it's disappointing, but hey, that's kind of the outcome, that you don't get to play, you don't get to compete for a Big Ten tournament title.
And at the end of the day, 16, 17, 18, you're not on the right side of the bubble. Nobody's ever made the run from Wednesday all the way through Sunday. I believe only one team, maybe it was Luke Recker's Iowa team some 2 decades ago, made the run Thursday through Sunday. I also think it's really important, Trent, because if you were to add all 18 teams, you have to make this a 6-day event. It has to go Tuesday through Sunday. And then you are asking so much of your teams, especially some of those teams, if they start on Tuesday and make a little run, and those teams are going to be the 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 seeds, they're teams that could potentially, by making a run, hear me out here, get into a play-in game. So then you're going to be asked to play 4 or 5 days, make a quick turnaround, and perhaps Tuesday, Wednesday. I think the league made a really smart decision in saying we are sticking with Wednesday through Sunday as the number of days that we're playing this tournament.
And again, as a fan, I want to see more Big Ten basketball, but it makes a lot of sense. Rick, my junior year, we played 4 games in 4 days. And I'll tell you what, you get to that 4th game, we played Wisconsin, the championship game. I had no legs, and there was no chance of us winning that game against Wisconsin. We had an overtime game. It's just a grueling slate, playing 3 games in a row, let alone 4 or 5. I can't imagine. Last year, Penn State ran off 3 wins, faced Purdue in the final. Felt like they just ran out of gas. If they had one less game,
had a chance, though, late.
Yes, they did. But it also rewards the teams that had such a fine regular season, as they should be rewarded.
And I think that's an interesting point that you bring up there, because I think the top 4 seeds, with more teams in the mix and those teams having to play more games to potentially get to Friday, those top 4 teams get a little bit of an extra bonus, which they should in going through this league. Listen, at the end of the day, players don't necessarily pay attention to this stuff. This is for coaches. This is for the media. This is for the fans. The players are just looking at who's next on their schedule.
As a player, you got to look at who's next. Even if you're in this conference tournament, it's 1 game at a time. Right now, end of January, it's 1 game at a time. But for the fans, I mean, this is great. I think the conference tournament is one of the more special environments that I ever played in or attended as a fan. Just all the different schools coming together. I'd love to see all 18 in there, but I think this is the right decision, and I'm looking forward to this year, let alone next year.
And I think the last thing that we should touch on here is with those home and aways, especially those single play home and aways, at least every year you are going to rotate. So if you stay 2 years at your program, you are going to get on the road and you are going to be able to see all these amazing new places inside the league.
That's the first thing I thought about, because one of the things that makes the Big Ten so special competing in this conference is all these are world-class institutions, the best home court environments in the country. Year in, year out, the Big Ten leads the nation in attendance. So it doesn't matter, you're going to Assembly Hall, to Mackey, wherever you play at, it's a special environment. And we all love to play at home. You have everybody cheering for you, but there's nothing better than getting a big road win. So for these guys next year to be able to go out to the West Coast, stay 2 years at least, right? Don't transfer away, because you're going to see some great environments.
They have a chance to play inside Pauley Pavilion.
Oh, man.
Legacy
Special.
Of John Wooden, chance to go to American Airlines Arena up in Seattle, Oregon, UCLA, USC as well. Really great places. So that's the deal. Big Ten announcing the future scheduling, both regular season and tournaments for the Big Ten men's and women's, with 18 teams in the mix starting in the 2024-25 season. We're back with more Buckets next. Trent lets you know what's worth watching from Tuesday's triple header, including the battle for supremacy inside the Mitten State. Take a look at Tuesday's triple header of Big Ten men's hoops. Illinois, Ohio State from Columbus, Indiana at home against Iowa. And it's the Battle of the Mitten State as the Wolverines travel to East Lansing to take on the Spartans. Rick Pizzo back with Trent Meacham. Let's start with that Illinois game in Columbus. It was funny. After a win this weekend, Brad Underwood in his post-game interview said, "We stunk, but we won." And at the end of the day, that's what you have to do. Grinded one out over Indiana. Not really the style, I think, that they want to play. And Trent, it's pretty clear they are still trying to figure out how to reintegrate Terrence Shannon into this offense.
That's the key for this team. I thought before Christmas, everything was humming and flowing, and Shannon was playing great. The team was playing great. He's suspended, and they didn't lose too much. It seemed like they had great rhythm and rotations. I thought the role clarity was really clear for guys across the board. Now you bring Shannon back, and of course, if this team is going to reach their potential, you need TSG playing well. He was playing like an All-American, but it did not look great against Indiana. And I would give a lot of credit to Indiana's defense. I thought they were fantastic on that end of the floor, but the minutes are down for some guys. The shots aren't quite there for some other guys. So they're going to need to find some consistency amongst this group, because how they play, their personnel, I really like this team in March, but they didn't have a great week. Looked better against Northwestern, but losing overtime. Defensively, they weren't locked in like they need to be, and Northwestern played incredibly well. And against Indiana, I thought they were fortunate to get a win. But they still, Marcus Damas is still playing at such a high level, and so they're playing through him. If Terrence Shannon can find his way and the others around him, they're going to compete at the top of the Big Ten.
Damas can hit some unbelievably difficult shots. A turnaround after trying to play booty ball and it didn't work late in that game was one of the biggest buckets. Justin Harmon had a big bucket as well. But Quincy Guerrier, who had been really good, was invisible. He basically gave them nothing. And I feel like until Terrence Shannon Jr. is back to being Terrence Shannon Jr., this team against dangerous teams, especially on the road, can't afford guys like Guerrier, Justin Harmon, or Coleman Hawkins to have a really off night.
There's no doubt. And give Harmon a ton of credit for, after not playing well, hitting that big bucket.
Shot.
But, Ty Rodgers played great in the first, I thought played well in the first half, didn't play as much in the second half. So I think for Brad Underwood, I think for this team, they're still trying to figure out rotations, who's got the hot hand. It was very clear when Shannon was out. The numbers were down in terms of your personnel, so everybody's minutes increased. But for them to be their best, that of course Terrence is going to be on the court. Now, can they find their footing in the next month so that they're playing their best next month?
Interesting to see Brad Underwood has just buried Dane Danger now on the bench. He's getting 2-3 minutes of play, and that's about it. I don't think that changes against Ohio State. Buckeyes had that odd rotation of bigs with Felix Okpara and Zed Key. It seemed to be working early in the year. Everything has changed for Ohio State. They're big time on the struggle bus. And how you bounce back from what happened to them in Evanston on Saturday night is a huge question mark, because, Trent, they got absolutely run out of the building.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, that was embarrassing, I'd say, for the Buckeyes. Now, Northwestern was fantastic. So how do they respond? We saw them hit a skid last year, and it lasted way too long. It lasted a month plus.
Into the tournament, basically.
Now, exactly. So how do they respond now? I actually like this matchup against Illinois. Okay, when you
for Ohio State.
Well, when you go up against Illinois, you have to defend one-on-one. And I think they have the personnel with their guards, even Thornton smaller, he's so strong. Can you play post defense one-on-one? You have a rim protector in Okpara. I like that matchup with Coleman Hawkins. So now what some teams have done is they put their big men on Ty Rodgers to start the game and put a guard on Hawkins, which is interesting. We'll see what Chris Holtman does tonight, but defensively they got to be better. A lot is made about their shot making after Jamison battle. Really no one's shooting the ball that well. Yes, they need to make more shots, but they've given up 83 points the last two games. If they can get stops defensively, rebound, and get out in transition, then you get to the free throw line. Then you score some points in the paint. Now you step into some threes. It's an easier shot.
I think this is a show-me game for Ohio State. You're back at home. Show me you want to play. Show me you can respond after being embarrassed. Show me you're mad.
Show me you got some pride.
Show me you are really upset by what the nation saw happen to you against Northwestern. It is a 7 Eastern tip tonight in Columbus. Iowa, Indiana, two teams that desperately need a win. Great news for Indiana. They're at home. Haven't gotten confirmation as to whether Khalil Ware will play in this game or not. Iowa's been so up and down, and you look at the records, and they're identical: 12-8, 4-5, 12-8, 4-5. Is there an edge for either team in this matchup that's obvious?
Well, Indiana playing at home is always somewhat of an edge. I would say just how these teams are playing, though, I would give the edge to Iowa. I think as Tony Perkins has played more point guard, as Josh Dix has had more minutes and more shots, I like how Iowa's playing. Now, both these teams play a lot more inside out. Iowa has the capability of making threes, but they don't rely on the three like maybe they have in recent seasons. Owen Freeman, Ben Krikke, inside those two are going for about 27 and 12 on the interior. Now, Indiana's two big men in Ware and Renew. We'll see if Ware plays tonight. They're going for about 34 and 7 or 30 and 17. So this is going to be more of an inside matchup, I think, to start. But Iowa does spread the floor, or they can spread the floor more. I love how Tony Perkins is playing. He's not only his competitive spirit, he's really the engine for that team.
Yeah.
But he's scoring, he's distributing, he's disrupting on the defensive end. So moving forward, I would not be surprised to see Iowa make a run. Now, to do so, you got to win some games on the road. That's been tough for them. We'll see if they can get that done tonight in Bloomington.
Yeah, the loss to Maryland, I think, really hurt. Peyton Sanford took all the blame, so that was my fault. I can't let Jameer Young go left. I'll be better. He comes back and has a terrific game against Michigan. Tony Perkins went over 20 in that game, third consecutive time. I'm with you on Iowa. Among all the teams in this league that are kind of in the middle right now, I feel like if they get it together at the right time, they're the team that could probably make the biggest run because you not only have Perkins and Krikke, Owen Freeman on the inside just won his 7th Big Ten Freshman of the Week honor. That's tied for the second most all time. Here's a young man who can really play. Explain to me what's going on with Indiana. And I understand that the guard play has been an issue with Xavier Johnson injured, coming back. He's never really looked like the guy he was a couple of years ago. Trey Galloway maybe had too much on his plate earlier in the year. But, Trent, you're simply not going to go on the road, go 0 for 9 from 3 and beat anybody in this league.
They had a chance. They had a chance.
They did have a chance, but they didn't win.
Yeah, you got to be able to stretch the defense a little bit. You got to be able to be a threat from the outside. After Mbako, they really don't have anybody that does that. I wouldn't mind seeing Renew take some more threes just to soften up
40% on the year.
Just to soften up the defense a little bit. But I go to that Illinois game, and I thought they were locked in defensively from the beginning. They got it out in transition a bit in that first half. I thought that was really good to get them off to a good start. If they can knock down some shots, this is a competitive ball club. Defensively, they were fantastic. I thought they did a really good job on Illinois' one-on-one defense. Anthony Walker can certainly defend. If Ware is back, that really bodes well for them. But no matter, they got to play inside out. Renew is playing like a first or second team all-conference player. I mean, he is a
first team without
bucket
question
down there on the inside. I mean, he's one of the best low-post scorers after Edey. Maybe he is the best low-post scorer in our conference. So I love how he's playing. If they can just knock down some shots, they will be a tough one to beat.
He needs some help. Iowa, Indiana, 7 Eastern. You can only see it right here on the Big Ten Network. Tip-off show precedes that game. And finally, Michigan State. Now, it's in East Lansing, which should be an advantage for Michigan State for a couple of reasons. Doug McDaniel is supposed to be sitting out road games. Not sure exactly if that does apply tonight because it's not a travel issue. It doesn't have to be away from the studies and the tutors for too long in this one. Either way, I think this, and I want to start with Michigan right now because this is a team right now that's in a little bit of crisis.
Oh, they're in real crisis right now. And it's not about the NCAA tournament. It's about, again, a team that's playing for pride, playing with great energy and effort. And now you're playing your in-state rival. You probably don't have your star point guard there. You got to bring the effort. You got to bring the intensity. You got to have that fight in you when you go on the road anytime, but especially the state of their team right now. I'd like to see them play inside out. Michigan State's strong suit is not on the interior. Now, Terrace Reed has the talent. Kamwa definitely has the talent. If they can dominate on the inside, kind of like what Wisconsin did against Michigan State, all right, they can be in this game. That's how you control the pace of the game, and that's always crucial. Playing against the Spartans, can you play inside out? The guards got to take care of the ball, got to knock down some shots. But if they can dominate the interior, play through Kamwa and Reed, Terrence Williams is having a really fine season. Anything can happen in these rivalry games. It's tough to go against the Spartans.
I do think it's actually good timing because this is the kind of game that you're going to get up for no matter who is on the roster, no matter what has happened to you with 7 losses in the last 8. You only win that MLK Day win over Ohio State at home. But the Wolverines will be ready, as they always are when they play the Spartans. As for Michigan State, are you buying this team right now? Because I think there's been a lot of folks who've been waiting to buy, and that wait is now extended, and we're almost into February.
Early December, I was selling, for sure. Now, I'm buying them now. I will do that. I think they're starting to hit a stride. The guards are playing better. They're making shots. I know they did not get it done at all in Madison. Now, Wisconsin played so well. That's going to be tough for anybody. So I look past that game. They did just have a road win over against a Maryland team that's playing very well. I like this team moving forward. They need some production from the inside. Can those guys be a lob threat? Can they rebound the ball better? They don't have to be low post scorers, but Sissoko and Cooper have to give them more. But Hogarth's playing well. I like Tyson Walker as well as any guard in this league, so I'm buying them.
Could I sell you on Tom Izzo if Marty Sissoko and Carson Cooper and those guys aren't going to produce the way that they need him to produce? Move Malik Hall to the 5 and have Trey Holloman in the starting lineup with a 3-guard lineup. Trey Holloman has been terrific, and I think he's not getting as many minutes because, understandably, the more minutes he gets, the fewer minutes A.J. Hoggard gets. And Tom Izzo has been very consistent throughout his career that A.J. Hoggard has to be the leader of this team. Tyson Walker's the scorer. Hoggard has to be the leader. I would like to see Holloman get some more time. I think he is a big-time spark plug for this team. I'm
really high on Holloman. Rebounding's been an issue. We typically don't say that about Michigan State, so moving, Hall
I think
to the
put Hall in the 5.
But I wouldn't mind seeing it. Throw something different and really space that floor. You have more shooters on the court then. Could Booker get some more minutes? Could Jackson Kohler, he played the most minutes last game. He's a threat offensively. But, Tom Izzo, they need to rebound and defend because if they do that, then they can get out on the break. So I wouldn't mind seeing it just in short moments, but it'd be tough to defend the low post with that, Rick. It's in East Lansing. How tough is it to play there? You know from personal experience. When I played, that was the toughest place to play. One, they were good. They won the league. They were made it to the national championship my senior year. So that's always a tough place to play. They get out in transition. They pick up that pressure, and it feels like there's a 6th man out there on the court with those students. So one of the best environments. It's going to be rocking tonight. That is the late game tonight from East Lansing, Michigan State, part of a Tuesday night triple header in Big Ten men's basketball. That means that they are still atop the Big Ten standings, and today's big interview takes us to East Lansing. We find the head coach of the Spartans, Adam Nightingale, in place. Adam, first and foremost, we appreciate the time. How enjoyable has this year been watching your guys do what they've done?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been a fun year for sure. We had a lot of turnover and had a lot of new guys, and I think our leadership group's done a great job of just making it a team, and the buy-in's been great. We're not perfect by any means, but we've improved throughout the year, and what I've really enjoyed, it's a group of guys that loves being at the rink. So every day we're having fun. I know you're working hard, so it probably doesn't seem quite as quick for you, but for the college hockey world, the turnaround seems to have worked pretty quickly. Just your second year behind the bench. What's been your approach and your focus since you kind of took over this program before the start of last season? Yeah, just taking it one day at a time. I think that's one of the biggest challenges in the world we live in with social media, and there's a lot of noise and distraction, and just focus on things you can control. And it starts with having a great staff, and I feel fortunate the group of people that decided to come to Michigan State and work here, and that it's not about them. They want to help the team be great and the players improve, and then just trying to identify the right type of guys that fit in this environment. And so far it's been going well. Obviously, you do have those guys. What's the biggest collective strength of this group? I think we're competitive, and I think that, I do think that's got to be your number one quality. I think it's a skill and something you can't take lightly. And, that comes in different forms, right? I think in our sport, obviously it's an abrasive sport. You want to play physical, but there's competing with your execution and competing with your skill. And so that, that's number one. When we're on the road, we're looking for guys that love to compete. Adam, you look at the stats nationally, there's no one on your team that's in the top 30 nationally in scoring. Joey Larson leads your team with 28 points, but as you look down, you have 9 other guys with 15 points or more. What's it like from a coach's perspective to know that you can roll out 3, maybe 4 lines and feel like the production's not going to really drop off? Yeah, thankful for our depth for sure. We got a lot of different guys that can execute on the offensive side, and I think that helps us in practice, right? You want to create a competitive environment. That's our job as coaches. And I do think it's a product too, again, it goes back to recruiting. What you're trying to look for is, we want team guys, and It's not about any one guy and rolling one guy over the boards. It's about, rolling 4 lines, as long as those 4 lines earn it, and 6 or 7 defensemen, whatever you're dressing. So far, that's been a strength of our team. Definitely has been our depth.
Adam, last 2 weeks have seen you play and split with Michigan and Minnesota, obviously 2 programs who are loaded with high round draft picks. I know you're ahead of both of them in the standings, and I know that every time you play Michigan, especially in this home and home, there's a little bit of extra juice. But do you feel like the guys believe against those teams that have had more success recently that they believe that they still have something to prove?
No, for sure. I think that's, one of the things we've done a good job here is, you got to have a chip on your shoulder, even when you're having success. You got to remain humble and look in the mirror and just say, hey, we still got to get better as a group. And it's never about who we're playing for us. It's always about us being our best. And I think in our sport too, that's really challenging because you can play a really good game and maybe not get rewarded, and the opposite can happen is you can maybe not play your best and you can win. So really judging it on whether we're playing our best, and our job as a staff is set that standard. And I think our guys, we've taken a step that way. You got to come to the rink too and expect to win, not in an arrogant way, but I think we've taken a step that way with our program.
Before we started the chat, we showed the highlights from that Friday opener and the 3 third-period goals and the game winner with 4 seconds left. What was that Friday night, especially the third period, like inside Munn?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, we've super thankful. And it's a hockey town here in East Lansing. And, our job, we just needed to put a product out there, and you knew the fans would fill it. And, I think we've had 20-some straight sellouts, and it's standing room only. And, it was a good lesson for our team. It's just staying with it. In the first 2 periods we were down 2-0, but I think scoring chances were 6-6. There wasn't a lot going on. It had a little bit of a playoff feel to it, and they're a well-coached team, a very good hockey team. And I thought we cranked it up there in the third, and obviously to see the guys get rewarded, that was a special moment. Especially Danny Russell. He's a guy that does it the right way, and for him to get rewarded was pretty special.
As a follow-up to that, how much can a win like that, the way you guys won that game, pay dividends when you get into the future and when you do get into those lose and go home type situations in the postseason?
Well, you're right. I mean, I think you want to be a team that understands that, you got to win a variety of different ways. And the last couple of weekends, we've shown we can do that, and obviously it's not a long-term recipe to always come back. You're not always going to come back. And so you want to make sure you're not digging yourself a hole, but also having confidence of doing it the right way. And I think that's what that, for both those comebacks, I think that it wasn't like we were chasing offense or anything like that. It was just get to be in us and do it the right way and believe that eventually, the puck will go in. And those are great things to definitely bank in your memory.
Individually, you have a presumptive top 5 draft pick in this summer's NHL draft in Artem Levshimov. What's his skill set like for those who really haven't had a chance to see him play?
Yeah, I mean, he's very talented, obviously gifted player. He does a lot of things with the puck. Our staff will never try to take credit for him. I mean, he's got some God-given ability for sure, and he's physically strong. He's got big-time poise with the puck. And what I like about Artie is, his ability to defend. He's 17, just turned 18, and playing in our conference, you're facing a lot of really high-end forwards and speed coming at you. And for him, he wants to be a pro, and he's got to be able to do it on both sides of the puck. And he's made a big jump this year, and that's still got a lot of areas to keep improving, but special player, and fortunate we have him.
Yeah, my buddy and our analyst, Paul Caponigri, would be furious and surprised if I didn't ask about the play in goal of Trey Augustine, because for most of this year, he has just been fantastic. What kind of lift has he given you guys?
Yeah, he's been great. Super fortunate he decided to come to Michigan State. He's a kid that could have went anywhere. He committed to us before, I had just gotten the job. And so, just that belief in what Michigan State hockey can be. And, he's obviously got a pedigree of winning one world under 18, one world junior gold medal. He's got big time poise too. And I love that about him in net. And, there's definitely, we got a young back end, and there's times where he's got to make some big saves for us. But it's never feels like there's a panic there. And that trickled down to our team. I think if you watch our team, again, we're not perfect, but I do think we play with poise, and that starts with Trey and net. And I think the last thing is, he's a team guy. He doesn't want special treatment. He's humble, and that really fits for what we're trying to do.
Just a month left in the regular season, Adam. What's the ultimate goal for this team, and how do you get there?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, this is when it really gets fun, and you find out. I think we've taken a good step to be a good team, and that's the next step's the hardest one, is for going from good to great. And I'm excited for our guys to play in these type of environments down the stretch, and we'll continue to focus on things we can control and just trying to improve every practice, every time we're in the weight room. Make sure that we play our best, and make sure that our standard never deviates, and make sure we leave it all out there.
All right, let's finish with the most important question of all. You mentioned Artemis Artie, and anybody who's played hockey or knows hockey guys, we know all nicknames usually end in a Y or an S, and it's part of your first name or your last name. His is obvious, but I was thinking about yours. I'm assuming Nighty wasn't the way to go. So were you Knights? Were you Gales? What was the nickname in the room?
It was Nighty, Knights, Nightmare. That was a nightmare for a while.
You got a lot of them.
You got to earn a nickname like that. But yeah, Nighty mainly.
Well, when you got that many, I think you've earned at least that many, and your team has certainly earned all the respect it's getting this year. Adam Nightingale, head coach of Michigan State. Nighty, we appreciate the time. Best of luck to you and the guys the rest of the way.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me.
If I were to ask even the casual Big Ten women's basketball fan which player leads all active Big Ten players among scoring, you'd tell me it's Caitlin Clark. Some would know that Mackenzie Holmes is also over 2,000 points. But one player who doesn't get enough credit for what she has done in her outstanding Penn State career, Makenna Marisa, now over 2,000 points in her 4+ years in State College. And we are thrilled that she joins us now on this edition of Big Ten Today. And Makenna, I know that among those 2,000+ points for you, 24 came in that game against Maryland. You guys as a team score 112. How much fun is it, especially for a shooter like yourself, to play in a system like this where it's go, go, go after makes, misses, and basically at all times?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I love this team so much. We have so many weapons. We're fast paced. That's Penn State basketball right now. And we just try to find the hot hand. And it's the exact kind of system that I like to play in. So it was a lot of fun.
There were a lot of hot hands in that game against Maryland. It seemed like the bucket must have looked like an ocean for a lot of different players. What was the conversation like, especially in the third and fourth quarters when you guys were starting to really blow out Maryland amongst the team, because so many different players seemed to be in the zone at different points in the game?
Yeah, I mean, the conversation was, just keep our foot on the gas, keep going, keep having fun, keep sharing the ball. That's what Penn State basketball is about, being unselfish, finding the hot hands, like I said. And that's what we did, and we were having fun. So,
obviously, one of those players who had a big game in addition to yourself, Ashley Owusu, and she had a little bit of extra motivation playing against her former team in Maryland. Could you see how badly she wanted to play as well as she did in that particular game?
Yeah, I mean, I love playing with Ashley. She had a little extra motivation, but she's motivated every single game, just as we are. And she was having, she said it before, but she had so much fun out there. We love each other. We love playing with each other. I love playing with Ash. So, yeah, like I said, we were having a lot of fun.
Whether you care or not what the outside public thinks, do you feel like you as a player and the team overall a little bit underrated? Because if you ask those who really know women's college basketball, solidly in the tournament right now, multiple scoring options, and a team that, if you talk to other coaches, nobody really wants to play.
Yeah, I definitely think we are. We've been trying to get Penn State back on the map for years now, and this is our year. I feel it. And yeah, I do think we are a little underrated, but we're coming, and we're getting better every single day and working in the gym. So
I know your start and Coach Keeger's start were basically simultaneous. So what's that relationship been like between the two of you?
Yeah, I mean, it's grown every single year. We both want the same things. We're both super competitive. Coach Keegs has pushed me every single day, not even just on the court, but off the court. And every single year, we just get hungrier. And this is our year. And so it's been really exciting so far. But we're not satisfied yet. We still got a lot of ways to go. So we're staying hungry.
As you have spent your career playing in this league, how have you seen the Big Ten improve? How have you seen the Big Ten change?
Yeah, I mean, consistently each year, the Big Ten has had some of the best teams in the country. I personally think it's one of the best, if not the best conference in America. So I think consistently it has been the best conference in America. And team-wise, I mean, it holds the best players in the country as well. So it's very competitive day in, day out. And every single game, we have to expect it to be a good game. And it could be anyone's game. So we got to come prepared every single day, every single game.
As for you individually, how do you think you would best describe your growth both on and off the court since you arrived in State College 4.5 years ago?
Yeah, just tremendous growth. I mean, come in, not really understanding basketball to the level I thought I did. There's so much IQ whenever you get to the next level. So just grown tremendously. Maturing wise, like there's a lot of failure that has come, and from those failures, there's been a lot of growth. And I'm super thankful for every single one of those moments that's led to now. So
I know you have very deep Penn State ties. Both your brothers are Nittany Lions. I'm not sure if they're still there. At one point, I believe at least two, if not all three of you, were on campus at the same time. Your mom played basketball at a Penn State satellite campus. You go back to the 50s. I understand your grandfather was on that legendary 1954 team that made the Final Four. So how much more meaningful is it with those ties in mind for you to do what you've done at Penn State?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to have this type of success anywhere else. You know, it means extra having those family ties, having, you know, my grandpa's legacy here, being in the Final Four. Penn State's where my heart is. So it means the world.
You are top 10 in basically every major statistical category. I don't know how much you do follow the stats and the numbers, but you're actually the only player in program history ever to reach these marks: 1,750 points, 500 rebounds, 400 assists, 175 three-pointers in your career. I know those who maybe watch you casually would see you and describe you as a scorer, as a shooter. How much are you proud of the way that your game has become a well-rounded game throughout your career?
Yeah, I've really focused on making my game a well-rounded game because, you know, I always just want to bring what the team needs from me, whatever game it is. And, you know, if I need to be a scorer one game, I need to be a scorer. If I need to dish out more assists, I need to do that. But just being able to have, you know, all those skills and just being well-rounded, that's the kind of player, you know, I've strived to be. So, yeah, I'm going to continue to get better. I think there's certain areas right now, especially, you know, rebounding that I'm really working on and would like to improve. But yeah, I try to be a well-rounded player. So.
And you're trying to be a well-rounded person as well. What are your favorite experiences? What are the things that you like to do when you're not playing basketball in State College?
I like to hang out with my teammates. We like to go to the movies. I like to go shopping. In the summer, we play a lot of spike ball, a lot of volleyball. So yeah, we like to stay active. There's a lot of things to do. And I just love to spend time with my teammates. My brother's a GA on the team. And I've been very fortunate to get to spend a lot of time with him this year. It's been really cool. So yeah.
So let's close here. I know that you and your teammates and your brother would like this season to extend deep into March, perhaps even into early April. It's been exactly a decade since Penn State got to the NCAA tournament. What would it mean for you in your final go-round and with all those ties to be part of a team that gets this program back into the dance?
It would be amazing. You know, that's been my goal. You know, I always say my personal goals align with my team goals, and I know we all want to make it to the dance this year, and we want to go far in it. So that's what our mind is set on.
On pace to do it right now. First team since that 2013-14 team to be 15-5 through 20 games. Makenna, we appreciate the time. Best of luck the rest of the way to you and the team. We can't wait to watch you as part of this year's NCAA tournament.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Coming up Wednesday, Zach Edey leading number 2 Purdue against Boo Buie and Northwestern. Revenge game at Mackey. Then Penn State takes on Rutgers. It's a can't-miss doubleheader Wednesday, only on Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. Coverage begins with the tip-off show at 6 Eastern. A few more minutes here with Trent Meacham, and it's time for us to open up a six-pack of new stars, newcomers, not freshmen, but guys that are new in the league to their teams this year that can make the ultimate difference from last season to this season. And we start in Madison, and we start with A.J. Storr, who has been just tremendous from the jump.
Yeah. Storr's been a real star for the Badgers. He takes what was a good team, experienced team with some abilities, and he elevates them to another level. He's a first-team all-conference guy in my eyes. You saw against Michigan State, 28 points. He can make plays out of nothing, plays above the rim, can play out in transition, can go get you a bucket off the bounce, can post up. So a versatile piece, and again, he takes what's a good team to now. I heard Raphael talking Final Four potential. I think this team is there, and it's because of A.J. Storr.
Yeah, Raphael likes him, and I agree, because he's got a little bit of dog in him. He kind of brings a new attitude that Wisconsin sometimes hasn't always had. Also has the scoring 20-plus over his last four. Marcus Domask adds an element to Illinois, and it's that booty ball game that we saw Jalen Pickett be so good at a year ago. Domask can do that, but he can do so many other things. It's just a matter of, will he continue to do it as they figure out what to do with Terrence Shannon?
That's a big question. In conference play, he's the fourth leading scorer in Big Ten play. Almost 20 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. So he does a lot of things for the Illini. They play through him. And even when Shannon's on the court, they play through him a lot. He almost always can find a mismatch that he likes, either using his size or his quickness. And he's a guy that just wears you down over the course of the game. I mean, he's pounding the ball. He'll take 30 dribbles, but he's so patient. And then once he gets into the paint, terrific footwork, understanding of angles. He's a load to guard. They play him a lot of one-on-one, but he can also spray that ball around.
And how about his former teammate, Lance Jones, now doing fantastic things for Purdue? Didn't score the ball well at Rutgers, but had 10 rebounds, 8 assists, did all the little things that Matt Painter and that team needed.
5 big steals in that game as well. You know, the game prior, he scored 24 points, hit 5 threes. So this is a guy, and for Purdue, he doesn't need to score 20-plus. Every night. I believe he's their second leading scorer, though. There's a lot of talk about the maturation of Braden Smith, as there should be. Foster Lawyers had his moments. But Lance Jones, he's the crucial piece to me. Great competitive spirit, plays with incredible energy. He's kind of a lightning rod for this team on both defense and offense, picks up the opposing opponent's best perimeter player. I love the addition for the Boilermakers.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest key. Defensively now, you don't have to put Fletcher Lawyer, who can be a defensive liability, against another really good scorer from the opposing team. Lance Jones can do that. He can do a lot of different things for this Purdue team. Rink Mast, we saw go completely nuts for Nebraska last week. He kind of showed us his ability, because once he gets hot shooting the ball from outside, then opposing bigs don't really know what to do defensively.
What do you have, 34 points
34
in that game? And what Mast does is he unlocks the offense for Fred Hoiberg, because when he can step out on the floor, he's a threat from the three. Now you have these other cutters, Tominaga, Hoiberg, Bryce Williams. They're cutting off him. There's DHOs with Rink Mast. So offensively, he unlocks it. He's kind of a hub. And defensively, when he's an anchor, when he's strong on the interior, it makes them such a better team.
Yeah, he's a guy that can't disappear. He followed up that 34 with 5, I believe, their next time out. If this Nebraska team is going to get back to the way that they were playing maybe a month ago and make the NCAA tournament, Rink Mast doesn't have to be 34, but he has to be consistent and really good. Speaking of consistency, Ben Krikke has been exactly that guy for Iowa this year.
Another Missouri Valley transfer, and a lot of these guys, their numbers really don't look a whole lot different playing in the Missouri Valley to the Big Ten, almost 16 points a game. Krikke, very efficient, left-handed player. They've just plugged him in to Fran McCaffrey's offense, and he fits so well. Smart, intelligent player, moves the ball, but also offensively, I mean, just great touch around the basket, can extend to 15, 17 feet, just very effective.
And it helps that Owen Freeman has played the way that he has played. Those guys kind of playing off each other, able to give each other a little bit of help, drawing some defense to the other guy. And for Indiana, Khalil Ware, we wait for his return. When he was healthy at the beginning of this year, both offensive and defensively, for a long time, he was Indiana's best best player before Renew took over the offensive reins.
One of the most talented players in the Big Ten. Just recently, before that injury, 13-14 against Minnesota, then went for 13-17 against Rutgers. So I think especially when he's rebounding the ball like that, if he can give him 12, 13 rebounds in a game, that's so big for Indiana. But a guy just oozes potential, can stretch out and knock down threes. Great with his back to the basket. Also is a rim protector as well.
Well, those last two guys we just talked about, Ben Krikke and Khalil Ware.
Going at it
if
tonight.
Ware plays, they'll go against each other tonight. It's Iowa, Indiana. It's right here on Big Ten Network, 7 Eastern tip-off show starting 30 minutes beforehand. That'll wrap up this edition of Big Ten Today. Thanks to our guests, Makenna Marisa and Adam Nightingale. For Trent Meacham, I'm Rick Pizzo. Have a great Tuesday. We'll be back to do this again on Wednesday.